Hi folks, I tried posting a full memo about the book that changed my life, but the audio cut out, so now this is going to be a little video instead. Or rather, my voiceover and video. So, like I mentioned, the book that changed my life is written by Robert Svoboda. It's a 3-part series, but I've only read really the first one to completion because they're kind of heavy, and I just wanted to absorb the thing fully, not just read it for reading's sake. So anyway, this book, the context of it is biographical. It's about the life of Vimalananda, Robert Svoboda's teacher. And by teacher, I mean more like a guru, a really profound spiritual mentor, if you could say. It's very hard to summarize what that means even. It's a very, very sacred dynamic. So anyway, Robert Svoboda, he's an American citizen actually, and he was studying Ayurveda, the Indian branch of medicine, way back I think in the 70s. And while he was doing his schooling in India, he met Vimalananda, who ended up being his guru. And Vimalananda actually practiced the left-hand path of spirituality, Indian spirituality. So he was into Tantra, and the practices he did, they happened in the Indian equivalent of a graveyard. So it wasn't really standard practice, and it's not practice that you or I or most people in our lives, we're not going to touch on this, right? But it's still interesting to know about this, and it's still incredibly illuminating. The Indian equivalent of the graveyard is the smashan, or a cremation ground. In a cremation ground, you'll have bodies burning. And to do spiritual practice there is to force yourself to reckon with the transient nature of reality and how ephemeral our lives just are. And most of us will, and the practice also, I believe, involves, as per the descriptions in the book, the practice involves the use of a fresh corpse as well. Again, you or I will never indulge in this. The reason it's so illuminating for the average person that may or may never get to experience anything supernatural is the affirmation and relief of seeing death revered in that way, especially if you're someone who dwells on death and depression a lot, who wonders about what happens after. These are some interesting anecdotes from the life of Vimalananda, his spiritual path, his spiritual practices, whether you believe them or not. I feel like it might be a good study for an occultist, especially someone that's interested in the Vedic sciences, who's interested in not just astrology, but Jyotish, right? Jyotish, you have some connection to Indian deities. Let's say you have some connection to Aghora, which is the word for fierce, right? Fierce deities of not just the Indian pantheon, but like any kind, say, you associate with deities that correspond to death and the underworld and things like that, and this will help you understand some of that, even though it's not directing itself at, let's say any other pantheon. It's still giving you an understanding of what happens under this layer of reality. It changed my life, not because I became like an occultist or anything after that. It was more just, I've suffered two to three or more, actually, just losses in life. And to view reality in this way, or to understand that there are people who interact with it in this way, was freeing. It let me relieve myself of certain pettiness and certain petty beliefs that I had, and allowed me to become a less inhibited human being. If that's something that I took away from that book. And I believe the lesson is different for everybody. My takeaways might not even be the most profound, but they're just valid for this, for the context of the life that I'm living in, whatever I'm pursuing. But if this seems interesting to you at all, as a very basic introduction that I've given here to the book, I invite you to interact with the material on your own. And I believe that there's so many little insights in there, especially if you're someone who believes and wants to believe that there's more things out there than just meets the eye. It's a great place to venture.